While European rapeseed is higher, Chicago soy oil and Malaysian palm oil are lower. Crude oil is also down due to forecasts showing weaker demand. The Canadian dollar is down less than 1/10 of a U.S. cent compared to Thursday's close. The November canola contract is up $3.40 per ton at $616.70, while the January contract is up $2.90 per ton at $625.30. In the U.S., corn, soybeans, and wheat are all lower. The U.S. Department of Agriculture reported 2.23 million tons of 2024-25 corn were sold for export during the week ended October 10th, up 82% from the previous week and at the higher end of trade expectations. The U.S. Energy Information Administration reported on Thursday that 1.042 million barrels of ethanol were produced per day on average for the week ended October 11th, up 4,000 barrels per day from the previous week. Ethanol stocks were up 121,000 barrels at 22.275 million. The International Grains Council left its global corn production forecast unchanged at 1.224 billion tons, with carryover raised 3 million tons at 279 million. The December corn contract is down 1 U.S. cent per bushel at $4.06. 1.7 million tons of 2024-25 U.S. soybeans were sold for export, up 35% from the previous week. Meanwhile, 251,400 tons of 2024-25 U.S. soy meal were also sold, as well as 800 tons of 2025-26 soy meal to Canada. 400 tons of 2024-25 soy oil were sold to Canada and Mexico. However, a private export sale of 21,000 tons of soy oil to Mexico for delivery this marketing year was announced by the USDA. The IGC raised its global production forecast by 2 million tons at 421 million, with ending stocks up 4 million tons at 86 million. The November soybean contract is down 2 U.S. cents per bushel at $9.87. The USDA reported 504,100 tons of wheat were sold for export, up 16% from the previous week and near the higher end of trade expectations. Taiwan purchased 78,200 tons of U.S. wheat in an international tender on Thursday. A developing La Niña is set to bring warmer and drier weather to the U.S. central and southern plains this winter, which could hurt the region's winter wheat crop. The IGC left global wheat production unchanged at 798 million tons, with carryout down 1 million tons at 266 million. The December wheat contract is down 16 U.S. cents per bushel at $5.73. The December Kansas City hard red wheat contract is down 12 U.S. cents per bushel at $5.84. The December Minneapolis spring wheat contract is down 11 U.S. cents per bushel at $6.18. That's a look at the ICE futures in U.S. markets for Friday, October 18th. In Winnipeg for MarketsFarm.com, I'm Adam Polishati.
November, December, and January, those winter months are coming. So be prepared with help from Butler Farm Equipment. They have batteries and oil for New Holland and most construction, agricultural, and automotive applications. Butler Farm Equipment also has snow blowers, snow equipment, and attachments for the upcoming winter season. Butler Farm Equipment, decades of delivering great service in the Peace region. To learn more, visit them online at butlerfarmequipment.ca.
The opinions expressed on this show do not represent those of the station. If you've missed any of the shows, you can follow the podcast at Energeticcity.ca. Welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your hosts, Dub Craig and Steve Berard.
Hey, it's Dub flying solo this morning. Today, I've got one very special guest. We're going to be digging into the preseason and upcoming season for the Fort St. John Senior Flyers. Now, they just played a pair of exhibition games against the Dawson Creek Canucks. They open the season against the Canucks tomorrow night at the North Peace Arena. So I'm very grateful to have here with me this morning Andrew Faulkner, the head coach of the Fort St. John Senior Flyers. Good morning, Andrew, and welcome to the show.
Morning, Dub. Just to correct
Andrew,
it is Craig.
Sorry, Craig.
No
Faulkner.
problem.
Oh, my goodness.
No worries at all. Thank you very much for having me.
Sorry about that, Craig.
That's okay.
Thanks so much for being here. Why don't we start first with, honestly, just your journey to kind of getting to being the head coach? Because you were saying to me before, you were kind of sharing the duties a bit last year, but now it's your role. You're the man responsible for the team. Tell me a bit about kind of your time coming to that role now with the Fort St. John.
Honestly, it started back in the beginning. It was October of 2018. I ended up having a conversation with Andrew Larige there out of Ernie's. and just kind of asked him how he got involved in being a part of the Flyers and what it takes to be able to potentially come and help out. And he told me right there on the spot that I was more than welcome to come out to practice that night. And I think it was the second or third ice time available that week. And so I took the opportunity to go out and kind of just groundwork was established and trying to learn as much as I could from Andrew. And then eventually, once Andrew stepped down, had a little bit more responsibility, and here we are now.
Okay, so you kind of were being groomed from the start to maybe take over as a coach, eh?
Yeah, possibly. I think Andrew at that point kind of saw the writing on the wall that had been doing it for many years, and he was had some grandkids on the way coming eventually, and so it was kind of giving me the opportunity to learn as much as I could at that point, and then eventually take over. To be completely honest, I never saw myself being the head coach within the quick amount of time that it happened in. So it is challenging, to say the least. Like, I'm still learning just like the players are, and I don't have a phenomenal hockey resume, to say the least. But it's one of those things. I have the skill set is more so communicating with people, and I find that I can do that quite well, and I'm learning the hockey side of things.
I see. So. Interesting. Well, let's fast forward then to this season and kind of the camp. How did things go in terms of who was available, who showed up, that sort of thing in general?
So obviously finishing last year with the record that we did, not winning a game, was extremely deflating. Then you go into the off season with the hopes of having some returnees and maybe adding some new talent and guys to the lineup and the organization. And then unfortunately, probably about a month out of camp, we started hearing news that we're going to be losing 4 to 5 returning players. So they were not an option anymore. So that makes it difficult to start off with camp. And once again, you have to almost establish that nuclear room and the culture in the room. Like, we ended up losing the captain and a couple assistant captains, and so you have to start all over again, unfortunately, right? So camp, we didn't have the turnout that I was anticipating. So we know what we have to work with, and then we can finally start getting into practice plans and systems and how we want to see the team play.
Yeah. And for people who don't know, tell us a bit about, senior hockey in general. These are guys who have aged out of kind of the junior hockey. So sometimes you can get kind of ex-Huskies who play. But these are also guys with families who are working full-time, who have shift work and stuff, are trying to play hockey essentially in the time that they have when they're not working with their families.
And that's exactly it. Like, you look at the roster that we have now. We have, I believe it's 7 or 8 of the guys work shift work, myself included. I'm a 4 on, 4 off kind of guy, and we have other guys that are 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 1 week on, 1 week off, and to make time for the Flyers, we do practice twice a week, and some of the road games you take all the way to Fox Creek, which is a minimum 4-hour bus drive. So you're probably leaving early afternoon, and not everybody has the opportunity to take off work or make the bus. So that makes it challenging as a coach to figure out what you're going to have for a lineup on a nightly basis, right? And we're not the only team that struggles with that, but I would say the last 4 or 5 years we've struggled more with that mentality compared to some of the other teams we're playing. It also doesn't help that Fort St. John is probably the farthest team away from most of the other teams. Like, we have to travel that extra 45 minutes or hour to be to Dawson, where Dawson's kind of in the middle. They can easily get an hour and a half there or an hour there. So it makes it difficult for guys to make the bus, right? So it's challenging. And once again, like you touched base on, guys have families, guys have other kids, work commitments, and obviously all that comes first, and the Flyers are kind of on that third step, but it's something that we're just going to continue to have to work with.
Yeah. I just wonder if you heard this too, because of the kind of the season you had last year that was really challenging. Were there people who said, I don't think I want to come back because of that? Or is that not kind of the sense you got from the people who did say, I can't come back because I've got a new job or whatever it happens to be?
Yeah, to be completely honest, I never heard anybody that played last year said they weren't coming back due to the record of last year. I think a lot of guys did take it personally, myself included. Yeah. And you get kind of that fire in the belly, and you want to come back and you want to prove that you're better than what the record showed. And then unfortunately, some guys just, things changed in their life and personal reasons, and some with work. And other expectations, so they weren't able to make it back for the season. It gives new guys the opportunity to come in and try to make the team and establish a role on the team as well. But we are a very young group, and we're going back to last year. We are also probably younger than we were last year, and then you lose some 4 guys out of the lineup that were key players from last year that are no longer available this year. So as much as it's challenging and it's deflating, especially the 2 exhibition games against Dawson, you have to be realistic. Dawson's been a powerhouse since I've been in the league, since 2018.
Yeah.
They are well established. They're well coached. They have a really good nuclear group in that room. A lot of the guys have played high-end hockey, so it's not new to them. And when you kind of build that culture going back to the 5, 6, 7 years for them, they can just run out of the gate flying, right? Where we're still kind of establishing how we want to play, how we want to do offensive zone coverage, same with defensive zone. And we need the players buy-in, and we also need guys that are able to consistently show up to practice and then games, because it makes it challenging. Last year, we didn't roster the same lineup once.
Yeah.
Right. So you're dealing with those issues. It's hard to find momentum.
Where do you think, we'll talk about the Dawson Creek games since you brought it up. What do you think the sliver of hope and sort of the silver lining is in that? Because I even saw comments on Facebook, excuse me, like, kind of clips from the game or the score of the game, because, I mean, it was 13-1, 14-1. And somebody said, there's quite a few positives. I'm glad to see the team kind of coming together. I think especially in the second game.
Yeah.
Where's the silver lining in a team getting beat as bad as you did, but still finding something that good that
build
came
off
out
of
of that?
Yeah, for sure. To start off, the silver lining, in my opinion, is we have guys that want to come and play hockey.
Yeah.
For the Fort St. John Flyers. So, and we talked about last year going 0-24, technically, if you include all the exhibition games, and then to be able to still ice a team right now is a positive, I would say, for the organization. Right off the get-go, we wanted to establish compete, where I thought last year a lot of the games kind of got out of hand because we stopped competing after a 3-0 or 4-0.
Yeah.
And that's how you get kind of embarrassed by the 12-0 or 12-1s. So compete no matter what the score is. And I think we saw that for sure out of both games in the exhibition games here last weekend. It was extremely challenging going into Tumbler Ridge, where we had 12 skaters, where Dawson had a full roster.
And that's half the team. That's half the amount
half
of
the
players
team. And then there was probably 4 to 6 guys that played last year that didn't make the trip to Tumbler, so that doesn't help. We're even younger. Like I said, and when you lose that some of the leadership group out of the room, it's challenging for everybody. It's challenging for the coaching staff, and it's challenging for the players that are playing the game.
In terms of the regular season, is there a minimum amount of players you have to ice in order
12.
Okay, so you could have kind of half the roster. Okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter who you're playing against. Like, obviously, Dawson is the powerhouse they have been for the last few years. They've won 4 out of 5 championships. I think going back the last 3 years, someone told me they've lost less than 5 regulation games, which is outstanding.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to understand that's what we're up against. Right. When I first moved to Fort St. John in early 2008, the Fort St. John Flyers were the team to be.
Yeah.
Right. I went to a few of the games, and they were winning 9-1, 9-0, and they had that established culture that was established by a lot of the veterans. They had guys that were literally weren't missing road trips, and they were doing whatever they could to make it for the team. And it was different, right? It was a sense where you had to make the team and you earned your spot. And unfortunately, I see right now, and myself included, is sometimes we don't have enough players to necessarily have to make the team. You're on the team because we lack some players, right? We want to keep a 25-man roster because of the shift work guys. So when you only have 28, 29 guys show up to camp, there's not a whole lot of compete to make a position.
Yeah.
To compete for a position.
You're there, so you're
right.
in.
Yeah. So, and then you're learning, and like I said, I'm no different. I'm learning too, and And that's one thing I try not to use the term mistakes. It's learning lessons, and will be a lot of that going from last year and again this year.
All right. Well, we're going to talk more about the regular season coming up in just a minute. We're chatting with Craig Faulkner, the head coach of the Fort St. John Flyers, on This Week in the Piece.
Swing by Just Jack's Restaurant and treat yourself to our Irish Delights lunch buffet every Friday. All the flavors you love and all you can eat for just $16. Think of it as fast food, but jazzed up with a delicious Irish twist that's far from the usual. Come on over and dig in.
The Fort St. John Co-op is calling for all locally registered charities, non-profit organizations, and community groups to apply for the 2024 Community Support Fund. The purpose of the fund is to provide financial assistance to those who enhance the quality of life within our communities. Application period is from October 1st to November 17th. Visit fortstjohncoop.crs to fill out an application form today. Applications close November 17th. Fort St. John Co-op, you're at home here.
Fall is in the air, and it's time to clean up those falling leaves and yard debris. If you can't reuse or recycle it, take it to the Peace River Regional District Landfill or Waste Transfer Station for free during the PRRD Fall Cleanup, happening October 7th to the 20th. Tipping fees at all PRRD landfills and transfer stations will be waived for sorted waste from your property. For a list of hours and locations, please check the garbage and recycling page at prrd.bc.ca. No commercial, business, or industrial waste will be accepted.
Get a lot more than just a haircut this month at the Hairbin. During October, receive 10% off any retail with any service. Plus, with every purchase, enter the Hairbin's draws to win a ladies' spa day and shopping spree or a men's chartered fishing trip on Williston Lake. The barbershop is open to walk-ins for cuts, shaves, and colors Monday to Saturday, and they're open late on Thursdays. The Hairbin, your People's Choice Award winner since 2011. Stay updated on Facebook, Instagram, and at hairbin.com.
Nominate a bold woman today. Hi, I'm Samantha Warren, owner of Bold Promotions, and we're proud to sponsor Bold Women, a monthly program highlighting women in the community. Each month, we'll select a nominee to be celebrated, uplifted, and receive up to $100 in Bold swag, plus also be featured in the Energetic City article. Nominate Bold Women in your life at moosefm.ca/boldwomen.
Your sister, your friend, your coworker, your mother.
We're strongest when we cheer each other on.
No heat? No problem. Pro North Heating has the largest in-stock selection of OEM and universal heating parts in Canada. Yeah, they got that. Stop in and see them on the Old Fort Road or shop their full inventory online at pronorthheating.com.
Consign your equipment and vehicles today with Rhythm Auctions. Join them on Saturday, November the 16th for their consignment sale in Charlie Lake. They're now accepting equipment, vehicles, and trailers into their yard, along with other larger items including lumber, ATVs, welders, bundles of pipe, water and fuel tanks, and more. Turn your unwanted items into cash at Charlie Lake Consignment Sale, Saturday, November the 16th. Call 250-261-8901 or check out rhythmauctions.com.
Moose Country weather.
Today we're going to see a mix of sun and cloud turning cloudy near noon with a 60% chance of rain this afternoon. High of 7. It's going to be windy through the day. Tonight, windy and periods of rain. A temperature low of +2 with the temperature actually going up to +6 by tomorrow morning. Mixed sun and cloud tomorrow. 60% chance of rain. It'll be windy again. A high of +3. And Sunday, cloudy with a 60% chance of flurries at a high of 0.
You can watch this show live on Facebook. Catch the replays at Energeticcity.ca or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
We're back on This Week in the Piece. I'm Dub Craig, and I'm joined by Craig Faulkner, the head coach of the Fort St. John Senior Flyers. Now, we're talking a lot about the exhibition games against Dawson Creek. You now open the season against Dawson Creek tomorrow night in the North Peace Arena. What's kind of your expectation for this game? I mean, I'll leave it open-ended. What's your expectation from the players for this game, and what will people see if they go attend the game tomorrow night?
Well, I think the expectation is to compete for the full 60 minutes, regardless of the score. You can't, in my opinion, I told the guys here on Wednesday night practice, is you're starting the season 0-0. Yeah. Right? There's no talk about 0-2. Those are exhibition games. And for us, they were exhibition games where we dressed both games were guys that were potentially trying to make the team. I'm not saying Dawson won't be making any cuts, but they put a pretty solid roster for both their games, and that's the team that they have, right?
Right.
We go into it now that we got a couple more nights of practice under our belt, getting some systems down. That's what we're starting to build, that foundation of how we want to see the Fort St. John Flyers play, not just game 1, but all the way up to game 18, right? So you have to build that foundation and establish that culture early, and then you need those guys to be able to start executing on the ice. So I think you'll see a group of guys that are going to be hungry. Obviously, being at home, you don't want to be embarrassed again. Playing with that fire in the belly and just giving it everything that you have and leaving it all on the ice and doing it for your teammates.
Have you named the leadership team, by the way, for the team?
We have not. We're in the process of it, and hopefully it should be announced early next week.
Okay. All right. Now, other than Dawson Creek, who, as we've talked about lots on and off the air, I mean, they're the class of the league. I wonder how often you kind of hear from other teams and how they're kind of faring in terms of the returning guys, getting players on the roster, that sort of thing. Are there other teams you think that this year, I think we have a real chance against them and getting some wins kind of in our column against these teams who may be also facing similar challenges to the Flyers?
For sure. With my role on the team, I don't really hear a lot of that. I don't know if it's what Paul might hear a little bit more because he has usually a few meetings throughout the summer with other team organizations.
And Paul knows everyone.
Exactly, right? I will usually have conversations prior to the game with the other coaching staffs on the other team just to see what their year is going to look like and just develop those relationships. Honestly, have no idea. I know Spirit River will probably be missing a couple of guys as they were getting a little older even last year, and then you get a couple of guys that potentially might call it quits after winning the championship. What a way to go out type deal. And then other teams, we got Fox Creek's new to the league. Zero expectation on how they're going to be. They're also only about an hour and a bit from Edmonton, so they have a bigger draw if they want to bring some guys in from the big city. High Prairie as well. They've been out of the league for the last 4 or 5 years. So once again, the only thing that we can worry about is how we're going to play. One of the things that is difficult is looking ahead. Like we have a game against one of these teams that should be a good compete game for us, and we have 6 of our regulars that won't be able to make that game just due to personal reasons, right? So it's an opportunity for us to showcase maybe a better skill set against a team that is kind of more on the same even page as us. But then you go into the game and you're down 6 regular players, so it's a challenge, right? It doesn't mean that we're not going to go and compete that game, but it's just something else that we now have to work for, and that's just the season going forward, I believe, right? It's with as many guys as we have working the shift work, and like I said, other teams go through it as well. It just seems like we also have a younger group, and we're trying to really establish some kind of chemistry, but it's difficult to do when guys are in and out, whether it be a practice or games.
Final question for you, Craig, I think. In terms of the fans who do come out and support the Flyers, who were with the Flyers all last year in spite of the losing, what do you say to them and just people who are hockey fans in general in this town when, as you say, this team has faced enormous challenges and continues to in lots of ways, about coming out to the games and showing support for the players who are there, who are kind of doing their best in spite of sometimes, losing. It's kind of, it happens, right?
No, for sure. And like we talked about, it's a rebuild for the Flyers going back several years ago, where they were always the team to beat, and they didn't face the challenges that we're facing now. To the fans, it's a huge thank you for continuing to come out, continuing to support the team. Like, it's obviously challenging for us, but they're the ones that are coming out, paying their money, giving their time away at home, and they're standing by the team, win or lose. And I think they also understand, especially the fans that come out consistently, they get to see where the Flyers used to be, where we are right now, and also those teams that used to be at the bottom are now kind of at that top. Dawson wasn't that long ago. They were a team that was kind of in the same situation with the Flyers, right? And now they're in their peak, and hopefully for them, it's nice to see them continue to rise, and we need to eventually get there. But it's huge having the support. The guys enjoy seeing people in the stands, and it is deflating for everybody involved when you're not successful, right? The guys take it personally. I know I take it personally. It's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be doing this on your time away from work, time away from family, enjoying it, and hopefully winning and establishing that compete going forward. And it's a difficult time, but it's something that we're going to work through. And as long as you keep putting in the effort, you should only get better.
Yeah. And I suppose, as you say, the Flyers you see today could be the championship winning class of the league Flyers.
Right. In the
years
future,
from now,
right?
if even that long, right?
Right.
So.
It's exactly it, especially in this league, right? The turnover, when there is turnover, it usually happens pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it's something that just keeps striving to get better, game in and week to week.
All right, Craig. Well, I really appreciate you coming by and being so candid. Good luck in your your first regular season game tomorrow night.
Thanks, I really appreciate it. Thanks
You're
for having
very
me.
welcome. And again, speaking of that regular season game, tomorrow night, 8:30 at the North Peace Arena, they face off against the Dawson Creek Canucks. Go out, show your support after the polls close. Craig, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Dub.
You're very welcome. That's Craig Faulkner, the head coach of the Fort St. John Senior Flyers. Well, that does it for the show today. Thank you so much for joining me. I don't have here's the rest of my notes. We're going to have live election coverage tomorrow night right here on 100.1 Moose FM. It'll start at 7 o'clock. I'll have a bit of a countdown for you until the polls close. And once the polls close at 8, we'll update you minute to minute about how the election is going in Peace River North and Peace River South. And, of course, we'll be keeping a close eye on what party is going to form government. You can also keep up to date on everything happening right this second over at Energeticcity.ca/election. But once again, join us for live election coverage starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow night right here on 100.1 Moose FM. I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us again next Friday morning at 10 for another edition of This Week in the Peace, your weekly talk show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Or you can listen to this podcast again at Energeticcity.ca.
The Fort St. John Co-op is calling for